All right, so this is interesting. Jaylen Brown had some interesting comments yesterday in which they weren't public. He got caught in the public eye with cameras, basically, people reading lips, and Jaylen Brown got caught basically saying, I don't think Bronny James is a pro. I don't think Bronny James is a pro. And it was pretty interesting to see because then later on, a brand or whatever, someone had came out, they're called Legends, and basically had said, the woman sitting next to Jaylen Brown being like, yeah, he's probably going to be in the G League. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but Jaylen Brown said, well, because of his name, he'll be on the Lakers. And people are reacting to this, either agreeing or disagreeing, or not fair of Jaylen Brown or fair of Jaylen Brown. Let's just be quite honest what it is. We already know that it's nepotism, and I've already ranted on this before, that you don't actually care about nepotism. You're just upset that it didn't happen to you. Nepotism happens in my space all the time. One of the reasons why it's harder for me in this business, just blatantly simple, is I'm not anyone's son. I'm not anyone's nephew. And that's a business that I just have to live with. But it's not nepotism. And this isn't something we've ever been surprised at. Or I guess I should say, this isn't about nepotism. And this isn't anything we should be surprised by. We know that Bronny James is just simply not a pro. But players get drafted all the time who shouldn't be in the NBA to make their star players happy. Their superstar players happy in this instance. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Thanasis Antetokounmpo. I remember on the Phoenix Suns, Goran Dragic, they had his brother, Zoran Dragic at times. That's just what happens. At one point, they traded Goran Dragic and Zoran Dragic to the Miami Heat. I believe it was the Miami Heat. Traded both those players together because that was his brother. He wanted to play with his brother. And I wanted to give Bronny a few games in the Summer League, but this first 4 games, 25 minutes a game, 4 points, 22% field goal, still hasn't made a 3, 50% from free throw line. Shown some flashes defensively, but mostly it's a lot of Stugotz. Bronny James isn't a pro basketball player. Now he's going to be, and he's going to be in the NBA for a decent amount of time, for as long as LeBron is around, and as long as LeBron has influence, and as long as Clutch Sports has a death grip on the NBA and on the NBA's players, and blackballing NBA teams, Bronny James is going to have a spot. And I appreciate Jaylen Brown, who was very candid about this. Didn't offer an apology, and he shouldn't have. This is a guy that got caught on a camera and basically people reading his lips, but Jaylen Brown made a really good point. He said, it's a flex to have your son alongside you in the NBA. It reflects greatness and longevity. Bronny has all the tools around him to be successful, and I look forward to watching his growth. Basically, Jaylen Brown is saying this. And he says it very plainly and very simply, and I'm excited and I'm happy that he didn't issue an apology for hurting anyone's feelings. Bronny James doesn't need it. LeBron doesn't need it. Jaylen Brown sure as heck doesn't need to provide it. He says very specifically, Bronny has all the tools around him to be successful. Meaning Bronny does not have the tools to be successful. Bronny, for some reason, didn't get a lot of the height. Kind of similar to his dad in frame, but not really there either. He's an explosive athlete, for sure an athlete. Can't shoot the ball very well. He's a okay passer. Defensively, laterally, he's fine, but he's undersized. It's not really something you're going to use as a defensive specialist in the NBA because he's so undersized. So this Bronny James thing is interesting. And I wish I was the one that thought of this next thought, and it was a guy on the show that basically I work with here at Fox Sports 910. His name's Jody Ayler. Very smart guy. Super good at what he does. Hope to be half the guy he is when it comes to this radio business gig, television business gig, sports commentary business gig. But he had mentioned something, and he said that everyone had got it wrong, including me, including the national media when I was filling in on Fox Sports 910 a couple weeks ago. But basically it said this. The story isn't Bronny James nepotism, which I think is still kind of wrong. The story is absolutely some nepotism. But he basically had said it's not about the Lakers enabling LeBron James and nepotism. It's basically about how far are they willing to enable LeBron James? How far are they willing to enable nepotism and Bronny James? Meaning, how long of a leash will Bronny James get on this team? Will they continue to keep him on? Will they continue to add special treatment to Bronny James that other players aren't getting, whose names aren't LeBron James, Austin Reeves, or Anthony Davis? Especially with a guy that a skill gap is so poor in the NBA in Bronny James. So it's not about just nepotism in the NBA, nepotism on the Los Angeles Lakers. It's also about how far and how willing will the Los Angeles Lakers go to give LeBron James and Bronny James everything that they want. Meaning, how much special treatment will Bronny James get in the NBA? And how much frustration could that cause in the locker room? Do you remember the Los Angeles Clippers locker room when Austin Rivers got that massive extension? It literally blew apart the Los Angeles Clippers locker room because of that extension. Because Doc Rivers was showing preferential treatment and nepotism towards his son, Austin Rivers. So again, it's not just about the nepotism. It's about how far the Los Angeles Lakers willing to go to appease their GOAT, one of the greatest players of all time, in LeBron James. Because if it's really far and it takes it to a massive extent, if he gets another extension, it could really spill over in the Lakers locker room. It could spell trouble, whether it's money, whether it's preferential treatment, whether it's just blatant nepotism. If it starts to upset the locker room, that could be something that could really, really mess with the Los Angeles Lakers. And that is as well the story along with nepotism in the NBA. It's not just that the Lakers picked him. It's how far are they willing to go to appease LeBron James. And it looks as if it's going to be as far as LeBron can extend it.